Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. It's actually been quite a while since I've jumped in front of a camera because I've actually been in Europe. I was there for 3 weeks as a holiday and spent quite a lot of time in France and in Italy. So I'm finally back. So I thought today, because I haven't been on for a while, I thought I'll catch up with you all, let you guys know how my trip went, but also just show you what makeup I did during that time. I kept it pretty simple because I didn't want to waste most of my time putting makeup on. I'm gonna just talk through my trip, do my makeup, keep it real chill. So if you want to grab yourself a cup of tea so that you can join me and just keep watching. So, I obviously didn't close my CC cream properly before I came back. Yuck. Okay, tip. If you go anywhere, make sure all your toiletries and your makeup is closed properly. I'm gonna start off with my base using the CLE CCC cream in warm medium light. When I'm a little bit lighter, I'm usually warm light. This happened to be the perfect match for me while I was in Europe, which was great, so that I didn't have to bring two and I didn't have to mix. Made it super easy. So I started off my trip in Paris. I have been to Europe prior, so I was there in 2019 and it was great. I went there in the summer back then, and this time around I went in the spring. I did not know that spring in Europe would still be very cold. I planned for it, obviously, because I had a colleague who had told me to bring layers. So that is exactly what I did. And it made me realize that dressing for sort of colder months is actually more fashionable than summer, because I remember when I was there in summertime, all I wore was a t-shirt and shorts. I had no other attire, maybe a skirt or a dress here and there. It was definitely really cold when I was there on the first day. And in the first day, it sort of was just to reclimatize ourselves. It was a 24-hour flight. I think it was a little bit longer with transit. So we transited through Singapore. We landed there in the morning and it was busy. I was actually really surprised because I always had thought that summer would be the more popular season for everyone to go to Europe. But apparently not, because when we went there, there was so many tourists everywhere. But I think it just made me feel safe seeing other tourists there. When you're in Paris, why I want to be there is to eat, and that is exactly what we did. We went to a steak and fry place that seemed to be really popular. I'm going to butcher the name, so I'm not going to say it, but that place was highly rated. I saw it in so many YouTube videos. To be completely honest, it wasn't the best meal I had there. I was slightly disappointed. I had really high expectations because there's so many reviews and it was highly spoken about, but I wasn't like, whoa. It was just average to me. But the desserts were divine. There was a creme brulee that was definitely the best creme brulee I ever had. So if there was an opportunity to go back just for desserts, I would have. Just coming back to my makeup, I think have pretty much blended everything in, and that literally happened in 2 seconds. When I was there, we would stay out till really late and then wake up really early for our next activity. So I wanted to make sure that the makeup that I did have was nice and easy. I only needed a couple of products and that was it. So you'll see that I only really had a few products here and there. And then for the first time, I went to Nice, which is down at the bottom of France, the southern coast. That was also really, really nice. We were so lucky to have amazing weather there. It wasn't cold, nor was it really hot. And then, we sort of looked out at the beaches, did some hikes. The food there was so-so as well. Apparently in Nice, a lot of the food there is very Italian influenced because Italy is so close by. So we already started to kind of have Italian food in Nice, even though it's in France. Quite confusing, I know. How we got there, which is an interesting story, it's not that interesting, calm down, is an overnight bus. What they do in that overnight bus is that they travel really slowly down to the south coast so that you don't arrive too early. Into my mind, it was the best idea. It was a new experience, taking this overnight train. I was like sick. When I was there, so there's a cabin, I think it's compartment, maybe it's called, and there's 3 bunk beds. There's 6 beds and then 3 bunks. And it was the most how do you say the word? Claustrophobic? That word. It just felt so tight. There was so many people trying to get on, everyone getting frustrated at each other, and then luggages coming around everywhere, and then people's BO. And it was just not the nicest experience that I initially had thought. It just made me feel a little bit uncomfortable. But would I do it again? I would not mind, actually. Now that I know what to anticipate, I think I wouldn't mind using that again, because it was cheap, and because it's an overnight train, you're asleep most of the time, and it was actually really nice being rocked to sleep. That was sick. My recommendation though, when taking an overnight train, book out the whole compartment, because if you don't, you're going to be sleeping with strangers. I luckily had already booked out the whole thing because there was 5 of us traveling. There's only 6 beds, so we thought we might as well book that 6th bed. I am so glad we did that, because if we did not, I would have felt so uncomfortable and would have stayed up the whole night for 9 hours. Sorry, I am forgetting what to update you on, but I'm just using the Clay Cosmetics Melting Lip Powder in the Hot Choco color. My favorite color to put on the eyes. Sometimes I even put on the cheeks because I just think it's super versatile and nice. So Nice was really nice. It was a coastal town, and I would recommend staying in the old Nice city. That was really nice. It was very buzzly, and if you go on a Sunday, there's nice markets there. It's just nice, you know. You're on a holiday when you're in Nice, and I think most of the people there, even if they're French, were there on holiday as well. We went to this bar called Waka Bar. It was lit. It was so much fun. It was everyone from around the world going to this one place, enjoying everyone's company. We danced with everybody. English, no English, we just danced with them. You know, like, music just speaks to everyone, and we had the best night. So if you're going, go to Waka Bar. If it's not lit, it's not my problem, because you might not have the same crowd, just saying. We also went to this truffle restaurant. That was an experience and a half. Like, the food was really nice, it really was, but I've never been to a place here in Australia that has a restaurant that truffly. Like, the dessert had truffle in the caramel, and I was like, that's a lot of truffle. I thought I liked truffle until I went to this truffle place, and I knew I was truffled out. The food was nice, don't get me wrong, but after those meals, I just wanted a break from truffle. I really did. The food wasn't super expensive compared to Australian standards. I think it was actually pretty average if you compare it with what you pay here in Australia. But as soon as you walk through that place, the minute you open the door, boom, it's truffles just hitting you from all angles. And then we moved over to Genoa. I'm pretty sure it's pronounced differently. I'm just setting the melting lip powder with a bit of bronzer, just so that it doesn't move around while I wear it all day. So we went there just as a transit because we were going to Florence and Pisa. We did a stopover in Pisa, which is the Leaning Tower of Pisa, and then we went to Florence. Florence is divine. It looks like a fairy tale town, like cobblestones, really nice churches, really old but really intricate. We went to a restaurant that was really popular called Ristorante Zaza. That is really nice. If you go to Florence, please go there. There is also a rooftop bar where it oversees the Duomo, which is the main church in Florence, and that's where everyone takes photos. I love the building because it's actually green and pink. I think the pink has been, over the years, it's changed colors to pink. But that rooftop bar, it's expensive to have a drink there, but we went there twice. I paid for the vibes, I paid for the drinks, but ultimately it was just one of those experiences. Some people wouldn't go there because of the price, but I really enjoyed it there. You have to book though. If you want to go up there, you have to give them a ring and just let them know that you're coming by, and they'll reserve a spot right at the front so that you have the view right behind you. Speaking of numbers, we bought ourselves international numbers, so that's why we could make those calls. I don't know what company we went through at the top of my head, but I'll have an image here for you if you're thinking of getting that. Now that my eyeshadow is done, and obviously that is exactly what I did with my eyeshadows. I didn't do any other colors. It was just putting a bit of color in there, just adding dimension. That was it. Just gonna quickly just zoom through my brows. So after Florence, we went to Naples. Things started to get real interesting. Now, I'm not gonna go into detail, but in Naples, please be careful. Let's just say it was one of the scariest cities that we went to. When you go on Google or whatever, the first few things that will come up is Naples safe? Is it dangerous there? Yada yada. You know, with circumstances right now happening in Europe and all the political issues, Europe is doing it tough. But like when you go to places where there's full of tourists, you don't notice things, right? In Florence, in Paris, in Nice, you only see tourists. And obviously to be a tourist, you gotta have money, right, to be there and to enjoy the things that you're going to. In Naples, we were told it's like 50% local and 50% tourists, whereas all the other cities, it's pretty much 80% tourist. Most of the locals either work there or whatever. But in Naples, it is more the locals that are there. And things are a little bit tough right now with things increasing, cost of living increasing and whatnot. So I would say be quite vigilant when you're in Naples. I wouldn't say not to go there because I feel like I had the best memories from Naples. The best and the worst, actually. What we did there, all the activities that we did, that was a lot of fun. But yeah, you just got to balance it out with the quirks that come with Naples. Try to blend in with the locals. Don't look flashy at all whatsoever. You're just asking to be robbed. Because I kind of knew Naples' reputations when I was there, I tried to sort of maintain a low profile. You know, I did carry a branded bag, but I left that at home most of the time. So I wouldn't try to discourage people from going there because, as I said, most of the activities that I did there was one of my favorites. I went horse riding, which was so good. Highly recommend everyone to do that. It's such an experience. But knowing that horses can sense your emotions and everything, it just is such a wonderful experience. You feel so calm with them. The company that we went with, they took us up into the mountains and then we took it down, so the whole experience was about 2 hours. And then we did a Pompeii tour, which is like olden day Roman ruins. So that was back in the days was ruined by a volcano. So we did that tour, and if you are to go, please get yourself a guide, because if you don't, you're gonna walk around that place and be like, what is this shit? But when you have a guide, they help you visualize what this place would have been way back in the days, what all the different symbols are and how those people lived in those days. I find those things super fascinating, and the things they thought about back then with the limited resources that they had, it's just amazing. Like, humans are so smart and it hurts me how smart we are. Anyways, but it was such a great experience. When I first went to Europe, I didn't do any of these guided tours because I was like, boring. Maybe it's age, maybe it's I've change of interest, I don't know. But it was so interesting. Every time the group would say, what was your favorite thing from the trip, I would always revert back to horse riding and Pompeii. During that 2 hours that we were in Pompeii, it was like if you were living in that time. That was how good the guide was. And she sort of made everything so visual for us to be able to be like, oh my goodness, that's how they used to do, like run a restaurant and all the customs and all that stuff. It's just interesting. Back to the makeup look. So eyebrows done. I am going to go in with an eyeliner pencil. I've reverted to pencils because I'm not really good with the liquid ones. If it looks messy, it was meant to be kind of thing. But I like to line the top and also just above where the eyelash is. I find that when I do this, I find that it gives me that kind of falsies look without having any falsies. If you've got sort of naturally long lashes, give yourself a bit of a falsies look. I love Morphe's eye pencils. This is, it's really short now. This was the original length, but I use it every day now. So see how it just darkens the top? So if I don't have any mascara on, it already looks like I've got sort of bigger and awakened eyes. The other thing I forgot to mention with my makeup is that I've started to stop using concealer. I find that it makes my makeup even more natural when I don't have concealer and I'm not entirely concealing my dark under eye circles. It gets evened out, but I'm not necessarily trying to remove them from my face either. I almost think I look a little bit better with just a touch of under eyes coming through. I don't know how to explain it, but it just makes me look more natural. So that's what I started to do. I'm starting to just put foundation over it, and if my under eye circles peek through, then so be it. But I feel like I look better and healthier. Moving on. So where was I? Before I continue on, I'm just gonna put on some blush here. I use the Clay Cosmetics Melting Lip Powder again with Berry Mauve. Oh, Naples is also the center point of if you want to go to the Amalfi Coast. So that's Capri or Positano. So if you haven't been to the Amalfi Coast before, the first time I went to Positano and I loved it there. But I would recommend going there in the summer. That way you've got sort of more things to do and enjoy the beaches and the pools and whatnot. This time around I went to Capri instead, but we stayed pretty central. We didn't go to any of the islands, mainly because we went there pretty late. We wanted to go for a day trip, but we just didn't give ourselves enough time to do a little bit more, and also at that point we were a little bit tired. So we stayed there for a couple of hours, but wasn't able to really enjoy the coastal areas. Also because the weather wasn't super warm either. But we did end up doing a little boat tour just around the island, around Capri, and went to Blue Grotto, which was one of the places that was recommended to go and visit. That was really nice. What I feel like I didn't see on people's reviews is that the Blue Grotto thing took 2 minutes. We spent more time trying to get there than the actual Blue Grotto. It's a cave with such clear waters, and somehow the light hits into the water, and that's how you get that really bright blue under a cave water look. The recommendation was to go before 1 so that the tide is still low for you to enter and that you can still have that really blue colored cave. But the only con is that it's fairly expensive for a 2-minute boat ride around that thing. I don't know. Would I recommend it? I don't know. Because it is nice to see, but when you're in there and knowing how much you paid and you've only been there for 2 minutes, you're just like, can you take a photo for me and I'll just reuse your footage. I'm not gonna go in there. Because it really was so quick. And I think, in my opinion, the camera picked up the blueness way more than what we could see visually. So if you've got money to spare, yeah, do it. But if you rather spend it on, you know, more fulfilling experience, I would say you can skip out of it. You're not missing much at all. I'm going in just to lightly powder myself because when you're walking around, I did tend to get quite oily, and so I'm just powdering just so that I don't look like I'm melting off in photos. So that was Naples. So see, we did do a lot of things, and the pizza in Naples, wow. Honestly, that's the one place I think, and also the truffle place, that I think you cannot get in Melbourne. I've never tried a pizza like what we had in Naples anywhere in Melbourne. I don't know how to explain it to you. Like, the dough is different and it's so busy. Like, you go there any time of the day, there's a line. We went there I think at like 5, thinking that that was early enough so that we could avoid lines. Nope, lines still there. And that one is the most popular one. Even the locals say that that is the best pizza in Naples. So if you go, you must try. It's called Pizzeria da Michelle. That is so Australian, but that's how I'm going to pronounce it. It's not far from the station, the main train station. Moving on from Naples, we went to Rome. As soon as we went to Rome, we felt so much safer. Again, it was all the tourists. As soon as you see tourists, I think you just feel so much more at ease. That's definitely how I felt when I was in Rome, and Rome is more of a historical place. There's a lot to see in Rome. I was there the first time, and so I took it a lot easier this time around in Rome because I've already seen most things there. But if you're going there for the first time, I think it's really good to just sort of see everything that all the tourists normally do, like the Colosseum, the Pantheon, Spanish Steps, the Trevi Fountain. I went back to all these places because it's nice to see them again, I think. The first time I did the Vatican City, the second time I went back as well, but the second time when I went as a guided tour, and that also was amazing. You just learn about the history of Rome. As you can see, I love learning about history, so this is why I love these kinds of things. But I can tell from going from not going through a guide to going through a guide, it was so much better. I think you waste more money not getting a guide and going through that with your own perceptions than actually going with a guide, because they'll give you so much detail. And so Vatican City, there was a lot of paintings made by famous artists like Michelangelo, Raphael. So these paintings are super famous, right? And they're always the ones that people take photos of and everything, but you never really understood the meaning of these paintings and what the painter is trying to convey in that painting. And so when the first time I went through it, it was like, cool painting. There's another Jesus, there's another apostle, there's another sky. Like, you just don't appreciate it as much until you learn more about what the painting is about. So that guide sort of helps you understand the meaning of each painting, and it just made so much more sense. It made it more interesting, and it's such a more fulfilling experience. That's why I say that without a guide, I think it is less worth it than if you actually got one. From my experience, I think Vatican City is one definitely to see. Even if you're not Catholic or Christian or whatever, I think it is still a great place to visit, because it's not just about the religion that was there at the time, but it's also about the history and how people lived in those days. And also seeing pieces by famous artists that are long gone out past our time. Just a warning, there is no other food than pasta and pizza in Italy. Oh, ew. So be prepared. If you're going to be there for 10 days, you will have 10 days worth of pizza and pasta. Once in a while, I would get myself a salad just to break it up, but that's pretty much as far as you'll go. And for someone that claims to love pasta and pizza, I couldn't help myself but keep ordering pizza and pasta, because when you look at the menu, that's the only really things that go, delicious, you know? Just highlighting my face. If you're there for any other cuisines, sorry, bad luck, you're not gonna get it. Or at least not in the touristy areas. There is a lot of restaurants there. To be honest, once you sort of eaten pasta for 10 days and pizza, all the places sort of blend into one, and I can't really say one is super nice over the other. Tonarello was maybe one of the ones that I was like, oh, this is not bad pasta, but that one is a little bit further away from the main attractions, so you're gonna have to take an Uber out, or you can walk there. I mean, you do you, hun. That one was sort of the most popular one that I saw for Rome. By that point, it was nice, but I was just like, I'm so sick of pasta and pizza. Like, let's move on from this. In Rome also, there's a place called the Scholars Irish Pub. That I went there the first time, and I went back the second time, because both times it was pretty lit, I had a lot of fun, and it was the same when I went back. A lot of Americans though. I gotta say, a lot of Americans. And then after Rome, I went back to Paris. So we left Paris last because that was where we were flying from. So then we left a few more days in Paris so that we can do our shopping and then just see a few other things. The first time I went, I forgot to have a croissant. I know, kill me now, but I forgotten to have a decent croissant. The first time I was there, everything was the end of the trip. We didn't have many days there, so we didn't want to waste it trying to chase croissants. But this time around, we did have a lot of time. I had a companion that would go with me to these bakeries, and let me just say, yes, the food there is really nice. It's much cheaper as well. A croissant here in Australia for a good one, say from Loon, is like $7. There, a croissant is €1, which is like less than $2 for the same thing, right? But I wouldn't say if you're from Melbourne that you're missing out much from these European countries. I think we're so lucky here in Melbourne to be so multicultural that the food is divine. The prices are so much more expensive, but the food quality, I reckon Melbourne still does it better. Soz. The croissants still hit the spot. It was still nice, and it was just nice to sort of have it in a different city, in a Parisian city. But when you really think about it, it's really the same in Melbourne. I'm actually almost finished with my makeup. Because I've been chatting, it's taken me ages to do it, but usually this makeup look in the morning will really only take me about less than 10 minutes. See how easy I've kept it, because in photos I didn't want to look too like glammed, but I also didn't want to look like I just woke up. But Paris, oh, if you don't have much time there, I would highly recommend, I've said that about 100 times, but I highly recommend going to the rooftop of the Arc de Triomphe during like the sunset times. Oh, it's so good. The views up there is amazing. We were gonna do the climb on the Eiffel Tower, but that day when we were booked in to do that, the president got elected, and so they blocked out the whole Eiffel Tower, so we missed out on that. I didn't feel that mad because the views that we saw from the Arc de Triomphe was amazing. If you got a clear sky, even better. So if you are very limited in time, one thing that I would highly suggest doing is the Arc de Triomphe. Try to do it within the sunset times because the views, wow. Some of the restaurants that we went to were also really good. I find that variety in food is much higher in France than in Italy. Also, we did a lot of shopping in Paris because it's sort of the city known for shopping. But allow me to give you a tip. Allow me. So in Europe, right, the prices for luxury goods are pretty much the same anywhere in Europe. So if you're in Paris, if you're in Italy, the prices of the goods are the same. What makes it different, or what you could save, is on taxes, like the tax return. We didn't know this, but in Rome or in Italy, they have a different tax system. So you can save more on tax from Italy than you can in France. I would recommend buying your stuff from Italy. The only reason why we went with Paris was because we were told that the tax scheme was the same in Paris when we were in Italy, so we're like, no worries, we'll just buy everything from Paris. And then we got to Paris and they're like, what are you talking about? And I was like, are you for reals? You still save a decent amount. Like, buying things in Paris is like way cheaper than here in Australia. That the things here in Australia, you just realize, you're like, holy shit, we pay shitloads for things. So with tax or no tax, you're already saving a lot of money. But when you know that you can save even more, you're just like, God, I want to save. So it wasn't much. The reason why we decided to buy things from Paris was because it was our last leg of the trip. So I was just a little bit worried that if I bought it in Rome and then my luggage got lost, then the goods that I bought would also get lost. In hindsight, I could have hand carried the things that I bought, but some things would have had to go into my luggage. So I was like, oh, if the savings are the same and the prices are all the same, I'm just gonna get it from Paris. Don't do that. Get it from Rome if you want, but that's a tip for you. So if you watch this video, you're very lucky. If you watch through the whole thing, you're very lucky. Next is lips. So I'm just gonna line it with Vitamin from Murphy. The only brands, like if you look at my things, the brands that I use is Clay Cosmetics and Morphe. If you're planning to go to the Louvre, again, I sound like a broken record, but please do the tour or any kind of tours. Like you can get the audio guide, which is not expensive at all. Or there's other guides that you can download from apps. The Louvre is massive. You could easily spend a whole day there, easy. From the opening to night, easy. I wish I could have stayed for a bit longer and learnt about the paintings a little bit more, but the place was gonna close, so I actually couldn't stay any longer. The other place that I thought was amazing was Versailles. Guess what? Also did a tour there. We went through the king's apartments, so you learn about how they lived in those times, especially being a royal house. The interior was insane. Like the walls were like gold, there was paintings on the top. It's just very intricate. And also it was funny, the tour guide told us that French people have this crazy obsession for symmetry. So when you go through the king's apartments, you'll see that like there's fake doors just to achieve that symmetry, which I thought was really interesting. But when you go through there and you're like, my God, like the king had so much money, he could have been extra enough to have all these things like fake doors. Like what the? that is pretty much what I went through the last 3 weeks. It was a really nice time to just get out of daily life. It definitely got to a point for me where I started contemplating about life, being like, am I in the right role? Should I be doing more? What am I doing? I felt a bit lost in life. And then I took this trip and I just feel refreshed, and I feel like I'm ready to go back to work. And I feel happy to actually be at work, because what I do at work blesses me with all these opportunities. So it makes me more appreciative of what I have in life. So if ever you find that you're hitting a roadblock in life, or maybe it's just your body telling you that you need to take a break, because that's definitely how I felt at one point, and taking this break really just helped me mentally. So maybe if you're feeling a bit down, really just take off work and go do something for yourself, because it really did something for me. I've finished my makeup look, so it's very easy, very little product, but I still feel complete. I would do this for the day, I would do this for dinner. I would not change the way that I looked. So if you looked at my photos on my Instagram, I look exactly the same. So that's pretty much a quick overview. I know I've rambled on for like ages. If you have any questions about the places that I went to, where I got tickets or whatever, leave them down in the comments below, or DM us, or whatever. There's so many platforms that you can contact us on. I'm more than happy to share what I did and my full itinerary. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and the bell so that you get notified of whenever we upload videos. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.